Welcome to Crawl or No Crawl, Saturday, February 26th. The Semrush Sensor reading is 7.3, which is a little down from yesterday. It's still in the high range. So now we're going to play Crawl or No Crawl. Weekends are our observation days. So I expect tomorrow sometime the test page from yesterday, from Friday, will start to show in the primary index. And that I distinguish that as being where it can be found by the keyword on the page. As a reminder, this whole indexation test was set up to confirm, was Google working? Was the indexation process working? Was Google rendering JavaScript? So in order for to test that, there's two fake keywords on every page. So that if I can only find it by the simple HTML page, then I know JavaScript is off. If I can find it by both, then I know that everything is working. On the front end, it's crawling, and then on the back end, it's rendering both simple and JavaScript HTML. Now, one thing I will say, don't submit your content through Search Console. It's a waste of time. I recommend using Google's indexing API and Bing's Index Now and getting your site hooked up to that. Anyway, this morning in the various server logs, here's what happened. Google, there were 59 bot server records, which was more than Bing so far. And I'm sure we all see this, but it didn't dawn on me until now. And I'm 6 months into this. When you look for Google's spider bot, it's not a secure URL, which is interesting to me. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Today, lots of refresh full render crawls. I'm using those words very deliberately. As SEOs, we need to be precise. Why wouldn't we want to? It's really important to notice because Google notices it first. There are always more refresh crawls than discovery. And you can find this information yourself if you go to your Search Console, and on the lower left-hand side, you see Settings. Click on that, and then that pulls you up into a group, and there's a section that says Crawling Stats. That's what you want to click on. And then within there, and this all makes sense if you're doing it, and then within there, you'll see a section that says By Purpose, and it lists two purposes, refresh and discovery. Now, there's only two that I've seen, so if you see something else, take a screenshot and message me. Right, so Google refresh full render crawls a lot. There was the typical ads.txt pulls, robots.txt pulls. There were several privacy policy pulls. Just that's the only thing that the bot came and crawled. Now, I think that should tell us something. And you don't have to have, someone tell you that having a privacy policy is important when you look at the behavior of the bots. Just do it. That's your reason. Okay. 49 out of those 59 crawls were by the mobile Google bot. All the refresh crawls were by the mobile Google bot. I don't know if you remember, but this past November, Google was telling us that they were delaying without a date their mobile first indexing. And the reason they gave for that delay was our sites weren't ready for it. And I called BS on that on one of the Confessions podcast episodes. I'll try and find it and put the link in there, but I'll also put the link to the article where Google announced all that. But I don't think it was our sites. I think it's issues on their sites. All right? But now we're seeing a lot of the mobile Google bot doing the refresh rendering. All right, so now to Bing. In case you're wondering, their bot is also not secure. So when I saw that, I checked a bunch of the other bots, Applebot, DuckDuckGo. I'm sure there's some reason why none of them are secure. And I know just the person to ask, so I'll report back on that as soon as I get an answer. Okay, so Bing had 41 bot server records. 100% of those were the mobile version. They had sitemaps, robots text files, and there were a couple of refresh non-rendering crawls. And I know that makes sense to you now, right? It's just pulling the HTML of the page, but none of the resources. So in general, this looks like a really good time. If you're updating your content or whatever, update it. Make sure your site's connected to Google's indexing API and index now for Bing. And remember to subscribe to this, so you're the first to know. And if you're looking for more SEO content as a podcast that isn't interviews or tactics, what's left, you might wonder? Give Confessions of an SEO a listen. You might find it enjoyable. So I'll put a link in the description, or you can just Google or Bing it. Have a great weekend. See you tomorrow.